Welcome. Yo, what's up? Welcome to the
Boyder
podcast. This is my show. Today we're going to hang out with Justin James Muir. He is a photographer, author, all-around visual genius. He's got a great eye and makes great things. And as someone that's dabbled in photography, I said, hey, I want to talk to that man. So I had a conversation with him, and that's what you're about to watch. And today's sponsor is Going for a Brisk Walk. Go for one. You'll feel fantastic. What's up, brother? Justin James Muir.
I'm in.
How we doing today?
You know, hanging.
First, I wanna commend you. You know, living in this town, right? When I see a person like you walk around, you always walk around with purpose. It always seems like you're not in a rush, but you have somewhere to be. You have something to work on. So tell me what.
That might be my friends might say that's me being anxious.
That's you being anxious. Yeah. Okay, cool. Now, you're a photographer.
Indeed.
Tell me what you were doing right before you picked up photography.
Right before I picked it up?
Yeah, well, right before you did it professionally.
Professionally. I was an art director at QVC.
Art director at QVC.
Mm-hmm.
And were you also, I heard you were a musical artist at one point.
That's even further back.
That's further back.
Yes. That I was a designer also, and then before that I was a musician.
Okay.
Always kind of a designer, but then an art director. Did that for quite a while, but then music ended in 2009.
How thoroughly were you involved in music?
Very. We played for like 10 years, toured around the country, hit every state, toured for like 7 years, 6 years, something like that. Pretty heavily for like 4 or 5. And we put out 2 records with Island Records, put out a couple on our own, and just, really
Did
really
you go
went
on
at
solo tours?
Yeah.
Or go on with any big
We
acts?
usually did like one a year headlining, and then the rest of the year was supporting a ton of different bands.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what was your role in the group, and what was the
drummer.
name of the group?
I was the drummer, and the band is called Monty R.I. Terrible name. Terrible name.
Yeah, we could talk about branding, but
It was our high school music teacher was named Monty.
Really?
We were all in high school band. We were dorks.
Yeah.
So we named it after him.
That's pretty rad.
Yeah.
Was he a supporter of the group?
He was amped. He came to shows when we played in town, and I mean,
That's gotta be a music teacher's dream.
Yeah.
To get up.
he kind of was like, the reason he was cool is because he kind of didn't give a shit about it either. He was
Yeah.
like, oh, cool. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Name your band.
So he
after
was
me.
rad.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm picturing some of my music teachers, and it would be weird to name.
If you saw him, you'd be like, you named your band after that guy?
Yeah.
He's an awesome dude, though.
Mr. Wiley. Okay, cool. So then you went to QVC.
Yes.
Right after that.
No, there was many steps in between.
Oh, many steps in between that.
Yes.
So what got you to QVC?
Well, I applied for a job because I moved here for my wife.
Okay.
And my now wife, my then girlfriend.
Okay, you were gambling on that.
Yeah.
You put
I
some chips on
I
that.
moved here,
Yeah.
and that was like, she lived here, and she was like, oh, QVC is a big company. I was like, I'll apply there, see what's
Yeah.
what. And then I got the job there.
It's not easy to get a job there.
I got one, I don't know.
You got one.
At the time, they actually were hiring a ton of people. I kind of was at the beginning of a giant hire, and then actually
Okay.
when I left, they did a giant fire. So I kind of
Were you
evened
part
out.
of the giant fire?
No. I left on my own accord. They did that like a year or two after I left.
Okay. So now you're at QVC,
Mm-hmm.
and do you start taking up the art of photography there, or
Yeah,
is that
I
kind
worked-
of all hobby during it?
I worked with a ton of photographers, and like while working there, and we always did photo shoots. And I had gotten a camera before I even started working there. I had gotten a camera just for my mom from Christmas or something, like, I don't even know, 6 years ago or whatever it was, and just kind of shot for fun.
Yeah.
Randomly. Didn't really like think of anything of it. And then when I started working at QVC, and even actually before that, I had another art director's position in Providence for a company called Animal. I would start shooting for them, did a lot of video, and kind of got interested in that, and then just kind of took off from there, like photography wise.
And is this around the same time that you started experimenting? You
Yeah.
kind of saw the power of images and maybe some of the money that some of these guys you were hiring making doing it? Or?
Yeah. Well, no, not necessarily. I just started shooting like for fun, and actually, I got really into working on the shoots and getting really like hands on with how things were shot. Still not understanding completely how to do X, Y, and Z, but being like, I know I want this.
Yeah.
Make that happen, like with the photographers who actually
you
knew
could
what they were doing.
explain what you wanted it to look like,
right.
but you didn't really have the expertise at that point to execute it.
And then, I'd shoot on the weekends, shoot friends. My wife actually was a model and worked at QVC, and she helped me kind of like figure out how to work with people because I would just work with her.
Yeah.
And, for years, she was 90% of my portfolio.
You had more reign to tell her, what to do.
Yeah, no, she would tell me what to do.
I'll tell you what to do, and then...
Mainly because she being a model is a surprisingly difficult thing to do, and learning how to move your body and work with someone and get them into comfortable positions is tough. And she was already good at it, so I didn't have to worry about being like, okay, do this, make it look good. She would just do it, and then I would just concentrate on shooting. So now I'm doing both, or like as you go on, you realize not everyone is good in front of a camera, and you kind of end up having to do both.
Do you think that I feel like that's a kind of a consistent thing for a lot of photographers that I see, on Instagram and social media, that whoever their significant other is, usually they use them as their subject matter a lot. And if someone doesn't like to be on camera, she now hates being on camera. She can't stand. Well, not she can't stand, but like I maybe have used her as a subject one too many times. Too many times,
So she kind of like, put it away.
Yeah. It's not the time.
Right.
All right, well, cool. So sort of my purpose of sitting down with you is that I get inspired a lot by people that are behind the lens. And I feel like that, whenever I'm in a room, whether it's a room full of important people or,
You're in a room full of
right now. Full of important people or wherever, life may take you, you're on an adventure and you see a guy with a camera, I'm always interested in what they're taking pictures for. If it's personal, if it's business, I find these guys fascinating because really, as a freelance independent, you're running your own business, it's all up to you. There's no one else doing the daily tasks.
Right.
You'll contract some edits out to other people, but for the most part, the grind, if for lack of a better word, I know it's a cliche to say, is up to you.
Yeah. Any small business, for the most part, especially in the art world, is like that. I think, no matter what. What
was the first time that someone gave you money out of their pocket for a project for you? Do you remember that?
First one? No, I don't remember the first one. I remember the first big one, which was a wedding.
Yeah.
And it was a friend of a friend, and I would just post, like I did a 365-day project where I posted a picture every day.
Okay.
And I would post just random, like I said, shots of Veronica or family or friends, and sometimes I'd get a little conceptual on Facebook or Flickr or whatever. And a friend of a friend was like, hey, can you shoot weddings? I'm like, no, but I'll give it a go. Gave her a good rate, cheap rate, and shot a wedding.
Yeah.
And then from that wedding, kind of steamrolled there. And basically, when I worked at QVC, worked 2 full-time jobs doing photography.
For a little bit.
For a while, yeah.
Would you say you probably underpriced that first one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Always, yeah.
Okay.
It's got to underprice.
Yeah.
That's just to get the work.
Yeah. So you got to get the portfolio up. But you were also doing, without even knowing it, with your 365-day project, a lot of content marketing.
Yeah,
the
totally.
fact that you do this, putting it into the world.
There's a book. I think you borrowed it or it's somewhere
the
over
Seth
here.
Godin one?
Yeah. No, show your work.
Oh, show your work. That's a good one too. Did I borrow that one too?
I don't know. Maybe it's up here somewhere.
Stole all this man's books.
So show your work, especially today, where obviously you should curate and be thoughtful, and especially when you get even where I'm at right now, I really try to be a little bit more conscious of what I put out there because I want it to be consistent and a full thought.
Yeah.
But when you're first starting out and when you're trying to figure that out, which I'm still doing, just keep putting it out there, see what sticks, see what people are reacting to and stuff.
Now, what's the biggest misconception of what it takes to be a good photographer?
The non-photography part. All the stuff that I'm doing today.
Yeah.
Just running your own business is like 80%, I'm in the studio just doing terrible work that's not fun that I can't quite hire out yet for. I just started to actually, Dan and I was just here, was helping out with some stuff. But that's the hardest part.
So the non-flashy, fun stuff. You don't post that stuff.
Right, yeah. Hey. Once in a while I'll do it on Instagram stories and be like, this is an edit.
You do have a tight Snapchat.
I stopped doing it because of Instagram. The stories thing. Yeah. I transitioned.
What are your thoughts on that?
I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except you can't be a dog.
What do you mean?
Snapchat, you can be the dog and the people.
Oh, yeah. I thought you can't be like sleazy. You can't be like sending like.
that could have came off really wrong.
You can't be a dog. I'm like, Justin, I didn't know.
No, all right, you can't be a bee.
I'm a photographer. I don't have the money to buy a monster camera right now. All I have is my iPhone. What's one skill I could start developing today with just my iPhone to take better pictures?
Get one of those monopod guys. Not the monopod, the little gorilla pod things.
Little gorilla pod?
The ones you have for the video going right now.
Yeah. And these?
Well, it depends also if you're doing like these. Especially if you're doing. It depends on what you're doing. Like I have a couple friends that are giant in the Instagram that have only used iPhone, and they do landscapes and kind of environmental stuff. And a lot of it doesn't deal well with low light or this, and using this kind of really helps get those clean, crisp images, keeps things still. You don't have to, but it helps.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that's my number one thing to do.
So you can get one of those for an iPhone?
Yeah, I have one right here. Here it is. It's just a clip. Put it right here. And
now how is that going to make the picture better?
Again, it really depends what you're shooting. So this isn't a foolproof thing. It's for like, if you're doing landscapes or you're doing something that, you want to get really crisp and clean and understand it, this is a good way to do it.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's the number one thing.
Yeah, but it's off the top.
Yeah.
It's what you said first, so I like the answer.
Maybe because it was like 3 of them were staring me in the face.
Yeah, so what's the most non-technical thing?
Be ready.
Be ready.
Yeah.
Have it on your hip.
Yeah. Like my family is always like, when did you get that shot? And like when I take family shots, or like in general, it's because you're always kind of ready for that time or that moment, and so you can kind of shoot at whenever, or just being really quick to get it up and shoot.
So the one of the first times we talked about, you were helping me out with some camera skills, and I do want to get into that. So for the listeners that don't know, I sat down with Justin, and he gave me about 45 minutes of his time and gave me some tips, some starter tips, just to help me use my DSLR in a little more effective way. I want to look at those pictures I took in that 30-day challenge.
Sure.
Not right now, in a second, but I want you to tell me a picture that. Actually, let's do it right now.
All right.
Let's get it right now. I'm gonna go to my Instagram.
Got it.
I want you to tell me one that you think is a little subpar, a little amateur, and why, and one that you think is of high quality, and why. So it's
first of all, this is all very subjective.
Yeah.
Photography, like most art, is very subjective. So take this with a grain of salt.
Okay, we're gonna have some Himalayan
Are these
sea
all?
salt.
All right. Do you want me to say which one my jam is so far?
Give me the good news first.
This looks like something. This dog right here looks like something I would have posted on my 365, like that first kind of round, it's a good shot. I love it.
Yeah, the bulldog.
But
like
not my favorite. Not my favorite one though.
Okay, not the favorite. We'll just let people go to my Instagram account, so it's Instagram.com/BoyderDaggie, DAGGIE.
So
he's having a tough time finding a good
No,
one,
I already
guys.
found. I have 2
Okay.
I already picked.
Yeah.
So these 2, this one,
Yes.
and
looking cat.
Yeah, I like, so especially with Instagram, like, and I don't actually do it very often. It's like the moment catches that are kind of like you couldn't have scripted that if you tried. Like that's pretty fresh. They're not technically the best pictures, but
you like the story.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Like that's a sweet one right there.
I think that might be my favorite.
Yeah.
My brother and his son.
That's artsy.
So tell me what I could have done. So you said you like the composition here.
So actually,
what could I have done differently with that one to make it
actually
better?
with all of these, and a lot of, even when I look back at my work, which didn't have it, is kind of pulling back a little bit. Like letting your people and the situation do the work for you rather than getting right up in there. So a lot of your stuff is really tight. Not all of it, but like this is that, just letting there be a little bit more breathing room and letting things happen a little bit more.
Capturing life rather than directing it.
Yeah, well, that and it's just everything seems like closed in. Like there's no story. So like for this dog picture, it's a great dog picture, but
close on the dog.
If you pulled out a little, there could be something a little bit more informative in the background that might help the story or help the picture. And I find that a lot with photographers because I work with a lot of when I do weddings. My second shooters, I have a ton of different ones, and a lot of them will shoot a subject and just shoot the subject. So if it's a person, they're squaring the person off right in the middle of the frame, and it's right there instead of like paying attention to everything else that's happening around in the context, and keeping it in context. And this is only really for this kind of lifestyle type of photography. I mean, not really only for that, but specifically for that, just kind of letting your images breathe a little bit more.
All right, I appreciate that. You didn't tear me to shreds.
No, not at all, dude. If you want to bring up my 365, you'll see they're pretty terrible.
I'll put this in the link of the podcast. So
I don't know.
Oh, we can't do that.
No, we can. I don't care.
Yeah,
I'm not ashamed. I keep it up for
because it will be cool to see, for a beginner that's thinking about this today, to see that first day pic compared to the one you just posted on Instagram yesterday.
Yes.
And that shows that So for me, looking at you, when I was actually initially afraid to have our first sit down because I'm like, he is so far and more advanced than I am. You know what I'm saying? But I'm looking at the cross section of your life right now. I'm not looking at the first day you took that first picture.
Yeah.
So for any beginner, you gotta attain that goal.
Totally.
And with all your lenses, all your equipment, all your reflectors, I have no idea what the heck to do with that
right.
shit. I'm like, that would make me a worse. I want the simple stuff right now.
That's good. Keeping because when I first started, I just had a camera and one lens. I had a 50 millimeter, and that's it.
What was the
50 millimeter?
Okay.
I had it called it the Nifty 50.
Yeah.
It was like just a $100 Canon lens. 50 millimeter on my first nice-ish camera was the T2i or T3i or something like that. And with the 50 millimeter, so there's not too much you can do with that. There is, and you just I shot a ton with that, and then little by little with all this shit around here, all this equipment, you just buy what you kind of like. Oh, I want to be able to do that, but I don't have something that will help me with it, and then you kind of. Oh, this is what helps, and figure out.
Yeah, and it's one little thing at a time.
Yeah, totally.
Rather than because I think people can get too technical.
Yeah. Even I do that. Like, I'll start shooting and realizing, all right, why do I have so much shit happening? I can just literally just come with one camera and one lens and and do the same, not the same thing, but a comparable job.
Yeah,
so
but focus on the subject more often, and that's a good segue to this. What's a way to, because kind of going along with what you said, capture the story as it's happening. What's a good way to make the subjects feel comfortable so they're not pulling themselves from the story that's happening? So you shoot a lot of people. How do you make them...
Again, there's a billion different circumstances that this falls under, so there's not one tried and true way of getting people comfortable, but talking to them and like trying to cross that fourth wall, whatever they call it, but it seems less like a task to take a photo and it's more of an experience. So especially in like when you're when you're doing lifestyle stuff and doing things that are supposed to feel candid but aren't, it's really just trying to, and this goes for art direction and any sort of direction with anything, it's really just trying to, and if you're not working with an experienced actor or something who can kind of get in character and be like, when I work with good models and good actors, I don't have to do much directing. I tell them what we need, and they do it. Like, I need this giant laugh to the left, and they'll do it. People who can't do that, you need to kind of really like get them comfortable and show them how to do things and get them into the experience and make them laugh or make them serious or tell them what they want. Show examples. Like, a lot of times if I have something very specific and I'm working with someone who's not good in the camera, I'll print out like a shot that I like and be like, this is what we're going for.
Okay.
Like, really, this is we're trying to get you comfortable, and that's basically it.
That's a good.
Getting comfortable is the most important.
Yeah.
So
So talking to them a little bit, getting to know them, rather than just whipping out the camera.
Yeah.
You told me
One of a photographer that I follow on Instagram actually did like this little behind the scenes thing. I can't remember his name, but I've never done this, but I thought it was a really interesting way. He just like sits and stares at people for a little, and like he gets really uncomfortable with people, and for it to kind of get past that, like, all right, we've already gone through the uncomfortableness, and now it goes. I don't know if it works, but
that's an interesting tactic.
Yeah.
You told me one too when we sat down that one day. You were showing me a picture of an older gentleman, I think he was wearing a cowboy hat in a car.
Yep.
And you said that specific shot, and I'll link this up too in the show notes, that he didn't think you were taking a picture at that moment.
Yeah. So that's only where you can do it without a tripod, but I was tripoding all the shots for that.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll line up the shot, either talk to him and be like, all right, hold on, I got to fix some stuff over there, or like fix my camera. Yeah, a little misdirection, and he'll let his guard down, and then you just snap a couple off, and you can usually get a pretty good one. Actually, I was shooting headshots this past week in Boston, and headshots for people who don't know, aren't used to being in front of camera, they're generally pretty stiff and whatnot. So what I did and worked 90% of the time was I would make people do a photo booth thing into the camera. So like I'd be like, all right, loosen it up, pretend this camera's a photo booth, I'm going to move away here, I'll trigger it with my computer.
Yeah.
And it's not the photo booth pictures that are good, but it's the three that are right after that, because they're usually laughing or a little looser.
Yeah.
But like three really quick, and those are the best pictures that you get every time.
Okay.
Because they're off their guard, they're not thinking they're done. I did the 3 pictures, next, and they're fooled.
It has to help though in this day and age where I think like 10 years ago I remember busting out my flip cam and everyone, or even my bigger camera, and then the flip cams came out and they're not as in your face.
Right.
And more 10 years ago when I first started with the flip cam filming on YouTube, it would be awkward for people to get filmed. Like, man, no. But now everyone's filming themselves anyway, so people understand the lens a little more nowadays.
Even actually, this is going back to wedding stuff, I'll take out my iPhone once in a while for group shots and be like, all right, I just want an iPhone shot for me. And the difference when people see an iPhone rather than a thing is incredible. Like, well, not all the time, but a good amount of time, it's like arms around each other. Everyone gets real. Like, when you're at a bar with friends and you're taking an iPhone picture, no one cares. Everyone just gets around.
Yeah.
And,
It makes sense. Whenever I whip out that bad boy, people see the mic boom and they're like, oh, I gotta act now.
Yeah.
And you lose so much of their character. So I keep the small one that's a tenth of the price on my hip.
Right.
And if a moment happens, I'm just like, keep doing that.
Tricking people. It's a lot. There's a lot of tricking people.
I'm gonna name this podcast "The Art of
Tricking." Yeah, it is.
Trickery.
Well, I mean, until you start working with people who really know what they're doing, and even then you have to do a little trickery. But like, when you work with people who are used to being in front of the camera, it's like night and day.
It's like a white lie of trickery.
Yeah.
So it's for their own good.
Yeah.
They're
totally.
gonna like their picture more.
Yeah.
And they're gonna feel better about it. Tell me about beards.
Beards.
Did you make a book about beards?
I made a book of beards. It's called A Book of Beards.
That's a pretty awesome thing.
Yeah. That was actually my first big project. Right when I first started doing portrait photography, I had one light, the first light I bought, and one big softbox that, going back to having not a lot of equipment, learned how to use this one thing, and got really into portraits, but would just shoot people in town, friends, and they all had beards. And then was like, oh, beards is cool. Beards is fun. And then just kept shooting and kept finding people with beards, and eventually had 150.
Did you know you were going to have a book?
No.
Oh, you just had all these beard pics.
Yeah. Well, eventually, halfway through, when I had 70, I was like, I got to do something. I think in the book, I wrote that it seemed a little bit more like a bigger project and worth more than a blog or just on my website. So just did a ton of work putting it together and put it out there, and it worked.
Where did you go to get that published?
I published it myself.
Yeah.
So I looked through all of these publishing, how to pitch books, and I was gonna start doing that. And I was like, I don't.
Seems like a lot of extracurriculars.
Well, I didn't think it was gonna I didn't think anyone would go for it. So I was
Yeah.
like, I'll just do it myself, which is basically what I do for most things. Just like, I'm gonna do it myself.
Yeah, figure it out.
Found a printing company that did it relatively cheap and just fronted the money myself.
And bought a bunch.
Bought a bunch.
Up
Only
front.
bought 500 up front. And,
Only y'all.
And and I'm on my third or fourth pressing, or third or something like that.
Do you ship them all out?
I do them all. So
From
initially,
yourself?
I didn't think it was going to be not to be braggadocious. I didn't think it was going to be as big as it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't big in the grand scheme, but for me, it was like it killed any expectations I ever did. I thought I was going to sell like 100 books and be cool.
Yeah. Where can people snag that if they're listening right now?
Only one place, bookofbeards.com, not
Book of Beards.
Yeah.
That's such great alliteration
Book
too,
of Beards.
man.
And it kind of like, it's even that like I don't do any promotion for it. I never did any promotion for it. It was only like just blogs.
Yeah.
Like I didn't understand the power of the internet until the Beard book.
Yeah.
Like one day, one person picked it up and it was everywhere. Like every blog picked it up as like a, Uncrate. You know that website Uncrate? It was one of my favorite. It was one of I checked it every day, and one day my book was on it. It's like this cool like gear / like supposed to be for guys, like all this cool clothing and gear and like funny stuff, and like all that stuff got picked up by it. It was crazy. Time Magazine did a thing on it.
Really?
Yeah, it was nuts.
They didn't did they their editors hit you up and say,
no,
hey?
they would say, hey, for that one, no, they just told me they featured it. I can't remember actually for that one.
Yeah.
But most of the time they would just be like, hey, we're doing a feature on you, and sometimes they wouldn't ever even, no one would even look out. For magazines, because it's in a bunch of magazines, people reach out, obviously, because they need print files. But
did you ever have that moment of uncertainty, kind of
every day?
Well, yeah, every day, but specifically with that thing, because I feel I look back at a lot of things that went successful for me, like minimal success, but more than I thought it would be.
It's not a good project unless you're anxious and thinking it's going to be a failure throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, and so many times I'm like, but why? Like, does it even matter?
Right.
Like, and like finding ways to cop out. Were there moments there?
Yeah. Although not necessarily that, because it was more of like I was just doing it.
Yeah.
So when I didn't have any expectations for it. Zero expectations and zero kind of like goals. No pressure for like I could do it on my own time. I designed it myself. I had a friend do the website. That was the only thing I didn't do myself.
Yeah.
And so no, I didn't really have like the, oh my God, what am I doing? Because it didn't matter. But stuff that I think that's going to matter, I'm always like, does this matter? Am I doing it right? But I think that's a good question to ask, like, especially if you're looking for something. Everyone's always like, what's your next book? I'm like, I don't know.
Why is this
whenever it comes to me,
or
if it never does, you don't have to do another book just because you did one, or you don't have to come up with another great idea.
Evolve into some other project that gets you going.
Well, there's this awesome and terrible quote.
I love terrible quotes.
It's not terrible. It's there is.
Are those Warby Parkers?
Yeah.
Cool.
I can't think of it. It'll come to me in the middle of the thing.
I changed your subject on you. Think of the quote. What camera do you use the most?
5D Mark III.
What lens do you use the most?
24-70.
I'm so quick, man. I want to be that quick at something.
Yeah, no, it's that. I mean, mainly because I don't have the big expensive cameras, the Phase ones, the $40,000 guys. So,
What's one? And we kind of broadly discovered it. Someone's starting out today. What's one piece of advice?
There is no certainty, only possibility. That's not it. Sorry, it just came to me in the middle.
There's no certainty, only possibility.
I think that's it. But it kind of like, there's no like,
it's kind of Seth Godin-y of a quote.
It was, I think it was V for Vendetta or something, Matrix or something.
Okay.
Stupid movie like that.
Alright, I'll find it. Right?
Yeah.
I'll find it. I'll make sure it's linked. So I'm starting out today, right? What's one thing you want me to do to remember when I'm taking photos?
While you're taking photos, or just in general?
In general.
I told you this one already, which is just keep shooting.
Keep shooting.
Keep shooting.
Did you tell us on air? Or
no, I told you
keep shooting
when we hung here.
Have the camera.
Yeah. Keep shooting. Bring it everywhere you go. Understand every situation that you possibly can, lighting wise, camera settings wise. Like, there's kind of like, hills and valleys towards like what is important, what you need to learn, and like mechanics of a camera is not necessarily important, but helps when you're trying to be quick, or when you're trying to like when that's not a
so
thought.
You don't miss the shot, so it's second nature.
Right, and then, again, it's all depending on what you're shooting, but
Yeah.
that when you don't have to think about that, and that comes with lighting too, when you don't have to think about it, it becomes a little bit more second nature. Then you start paying attention to the subject, and then when you don't have to worry about the subject, you start paying attention to the setting, and then when you don't have to worry about the setting or the people reacting, you know, it's all different. Like I'll when I'm shooting, sometimes I'll forget about, all right, I got this beautifully lit portrait of somebody, the guy in the desert, but I haven't given him any sort of direction, or like I haven't like made it any more interesting, or tried to get a little bit more out of him. So like you always kind of like look back and be like, oh, should have done that.
Yeah.
I don't know how I got there.
What's the most challenging thing that a newbie will come across?
Finding what you're good at.
Yeah.
There's
whether it's landscapes.
or what you love too.
Yeah.
Because I've kind of narrowed it. I'm kind of in the spot where I feel like I really like one type of photography, but finding what you like and you're good at, and not even what you're good at, but what you like doing, is probably the most challenging.
Can I tell you? I'm gonna ask myself a question.
Ask away.
Answer.
Do you want? You can whisper it to me, and I can ask you.
No. So when I was doing the 30-day thing, right? So I'm coming from the video world, where
I did too. I was a video guy.
Okay,
first.
cool.
Yeah.
And what I noticed that there's so much more production time from the start to the finish in that world, right? So. And there's also not that many reasons for you to just say, hey, can I take your video? It's kind of awkward.
Yeah.
But photos work, and I find it as a really cool connection tool.
Yeah.
Like, if you're in a room with a camera, you look like you're supposed to be there.
Right.
So people want to talk to you, and then, it's also a good way to keep in touch. Hey, here's a photo. I'll email it to you.
You could do that with video. You could take it to a different. Actually, when I first started shooting video, it was just like for family stuff again.
Yeah.
And it would just be like that, whatever situation.
Video works, right? But it's not. So you can't.
It's not as easy.
It's hard to cover like 10 people in the same room.
Right.
Quickly send them that picture. Here, text them that picture. My buddy that does works in the music industry. He just goes to events, right? Takes pictures of these artists, these musicians. And he's like, hey, here, I'll send you this photo, edit it up. Now he has that guy's contact.
Right.
It's another form of trickery. but he goes, hey, here's some value for you, but here, let's also be friends.
That's kind of the only way I've built the business, not that specific way, but it's kind of the same, whereas when you put a picture out there and it trickles through the person the pictures of, or the company that it's for,
their
networks see that, and that that's why there's so many Instagram shooting, like people do photo shoots just for Instagram because it gets them followers and exposure and the X, Y, and Z. So that's basically the same thing, just on a more micro level of there's one person, here's a picture, edit it.
Okay. All right, let's wrap it up. So this newbie, he's getting good, right? Mm-hmm. He's doing a lot of free stuff. When does he know when to charge? Or she?
I get that question a lot, or I get billing quite like how much I charge for X, Y, and Z, and it really is just what you're comfortable with, and you can start looking at when you get to there are a ton of commercial, editorial, wedding pricing blogs
that
give you an idea, but it really is and it takes a while to shoot a lot to figure it out, because at first I didn't know either. So it really is what you're comfortable with and what you think it's worth.
Yeah.
So what is your time worth for you in that day? Actually getting a day rate in your head is a good. You don't necessarily have to. You don't necessarily have to say, "Hey, my day rate is $1,000." You don't necessarily have to say that, but understanding that a day is maybe of work for you is worth $1,000.
Yes.
Breaking that down to be like, all right, this is probably going to take me, a good 5 days, and maybe $5,000 isn't where it's worth. It's not really worth that. Maybe I want the project, so I'll bump it down to 2, or maybe, so really, I've done giant projects for $100, and I've done stupid projects for a couple thousand. Like it really ranges, and it's all different. So I've done free, I've done expensive projects, I've done everything in between. So it's really what you're comfortable with. I know it's a terrible answer, but
no, it's cool. But I think the takeaway is ask little questions as you go, as people run into people doing it for real. And what site? Is there any sites off top?
Specifically, no. I mean, just Google, let's say you're doing editorial work, editorial pricing guide. Yeah, it's out there.
Yeah, it's out there.
It's out there. Someone has already done the work to kind of like figure what the average is for but there's also within that, commercial jobs that can go for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then commercial jobs that can go for $500. So like, it really is very relative.
I'll tell you an interesting story, and you might be able to relate. I know we're closing up here, but with the pricing thing, I consulted with one of my buddies who does video. I don't know how to charge these guys.
Right.
Like, there's so many different variables: travel, eating, stuff like that. And he was like, "Listen, find out how much you want to make,
right? And
then just like give them a list of why, the edit, the day rate, and
so I stopped doing. The reason I stopped doing just like a flat rate for when I do commercial work or editorial work, and some stuff comes with the built-in budget, but showing what each thing costs. So like, I have a job in Philly.
Yeah.
I have to hire assistant, maybe 2. I have to, if it's a long day shoot, we have to get food for everybody. We have to get a hair, makeup, and I list all that so people don't know that, like, if it's $20,000, they don't know that, they don't think I'm getting all that, and I'm just like, so they know where everything's going and what's allowed.
Because they usually have a boss that's gonna have to clear that check.
Right. Yeah.
And now they can break it down.
Totally. And some people are like, I don't know if we can afford X, Y, and Z. Do we need hair? And I'll be like, well, we'll see if we get hair and makeup. We'll see if we can get it without, or I don't know. Just kind of shifting around like that.
I like that. And another thing that I've noticed too. Every now and then I'll do this when I'll say, you know what, I deserve $200 more for this project,
sure.
and I just close my eyes, I press send on the email, and there's been like one time where they said we can't afford that.
Yeah.
But most of the time, that's cool.
My wife and my friends and every photographer I've ever worked with be like, you need to up your prices. And a lot of times I do what I think it's worth and what I think I'm worth at this time.
You don't want to steal from anyone, but you want to value your time appropriately.
And, I still think I'm, projects where I think it's going to help me grow and be good for my portfolio or just my learning curve, I might undercut because I want to do it.
Yeah.
So...
You're more interested in the subject, and that goes along with if you do charge more, it's a benefit for them, in a non-selfish way, saying, hey, I don't have to take on a bunch of little projects as I'm doing this one. I can solely focus on this. Yeah. So asking for that extra couple hundred or so could ultimately help the project.
Right, and treating every even little project like it's a giant project. Like if there's a tiny shoot with a friend, make it a big deal.
Yeah.
Put the effort you would try to put into in a big commercial job into that, and then that will
so
show. You're
prepared when you're there.
Not even that, but just so like you can kind of get the idea of how things work. So like if you're like, oh, I want to shoot this model, and you just like show up.
Like that.
You show up in a field and you shoot a model. You're like, instead of like preparing locations, getting hair and makeup if you need it, really getting a shot list or I don't always get a shot list, but getting all that stuff done, like having things like you would shoot if someone was like, I have this awesome clothing line, can you come shoot for me? Instead of just being like, all right, let's go over there and shoot. Like really trying to like make it big, make it a big deal. Even if it's a headshot of a random dude at a random company.
So I'm going to draw an analogy here. You're saying when I came to this podcast interview today, I should have had my mics ready and working instead of using only one of them.
Friends, it's different.
Hey, no, I like that though. Treating everyone like you're sitting down with the president.
Yeah. Because then you'll get better work. So much better work.
Cool. Let's wrap it up. I'm gonna do the kind of the. I don't know how to word this, but the corny question. All right.
But I do like. Sorry, interrupting. I like your mantras on your computer.
Do the work and work the problem. That's from Stephen Pressfield's book.
Okay.
I think it's called Do the Work. But it's every single time I get a tick and I'm editing and I go to check Instagram or pull myself from it, it's there to remind me. It doesn't always work, but.
I also forgot you were filming this, and you'll notice I'm very fidgety through the whole thing.
I'm fidgety too, though.
Right.
It's cool. We're both fidgeting. All right, so you remember Snapple bottle caps. I like drinking water. Let's pretend that a water bottle company is asking you to
oh my goodness.
They're consulting with you for their their message underneath their.
I should have asked for this one ahead of time.
Yeah. You kind of said a quote earlier.
I know.
What this is gonna go to everyone in the world. It's
I have a list of
water.
quotes on my phone. Can I look at it?
Yeah, you can look. You got them on your notepad?
I have them somewhere.
You can check them out.
No, I'll try to think. Sorry, so it's what would be under a Snapple lid.
Yeah, Snapple lid, but we're going water because I think we like to keep the sugar to a low.
This is not easy.
We're just trying to hydrate people here. We're not trying to spike their insulin today.
Oh man, I'm cheating.
Cheat, man.
Cheating.
Gee, I'll just stare.
But these are like
into the camera.
These are like super cheese ball like.
I got a list of quotes. I got a notepad that says.
Oh, actually, this was not bad. Well, can I give you two?
You can give us two.
These are like Confucius says type things.
Yeah,
have a clarity in vision and flexibility in process.
Say that again.
Have a clarity in vision and flexibility in process. That's actually very poignant in photography. What I was saying about not always having a shot list, like understanding what you're going to shoot, and then let the process and your instinct kind of really guide what you're doing.
Like that.
I will just stick with that.
This one?
I don't know who said it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You said it today. All right, where can we find you? Where can any listeners?
JustinJamesMuir.com.
Muir, how do you spell Muir?
M-U-I-R.
M-U-I-R.
I had to put James in there because JustinMuir.com already exists.
Justin James sounds cool. Though.
I know, but it's long.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's cool. It's memorable.
Yeah.
All right, man. I appreciate the time.
There we go.
Keep making fantastic content for the world, and
Thank you.
And we'll be in touch.
And you keep shooting as well.
Thank you, man.
Oh, that's a good one too. Snapple, keep shooting.
Keep shooting?
Under the cap.
Oh, yeah. Keep shooting.
All right, man.
All right. See you, man.
Be well.
Peace. That was fun.
Yep.
I think it's all recorded here. Hopefully the audio was great.
Yeah. Oh, you forgot to hit record now.
Ah.
Did it record?
Yeah.